Cassie told the jury that the offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless.
She did say these lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered. Emily Johnson actually said that Cassie did choke on of sort when Diddy forced this to allegedly urinate in her mouth. They did say inner circle numerous times, I believe, really trying to amplify the RICO charges.
Barbecue chicken, a battered basketball, and a concrete courtyard. That's the Memorial Day lineup for Sean Diddy Combs. The mogul who once ruled red carpets now shares a 4th-floor dorm with 20 strangers inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. His every move lit by buzzing fluorescent bulbs. While the rest of America fires up backyard grills, Combs waits to learn whether he'll ever taste freedom again.
What jurors heard today were tales of appalling physical abuse by Sean Combs as prosecutors portrayed him as a monster who controlled people and plied them with drugs, threats, money.
Today, we're prying open those steel doors to reveal how hip-hop's ultimate showman slid from penthouse suites to prison bunks. From racketeering charges and whispers of secret private after-hours parties, to the surprisingly festive holiday menu MDC serves its inmates, you'll see just how far the bad boy empire has crumbled.
I would have thought Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentaries.
Why the trial's holiday pause could tilt the scales in ways no one saw coming. Everything you're about to hear comes from court filings, sworn testimony, and buzzing rumor mills that prosecutors are racing to untangle. Ready to step inside? Let's begin with the night federal agents hammered on Diddy's door.
Just a little bit ago, as you can see a crowbar to get through this gate initially, as well the long guns and a multitude of...
The moment his glittering world shattered in a single knock. Last September, federal agents did more than knock on Sean Diddy Combs' door. They launched a sweeping coast-to-coast operation that ended with the 55-year-old music mogul in handcuffs. Prosecutors say he ran a racketeering network for over a decade, luring hopefuls with promises of fame and trapping them in a web of intimidation, allegedly non-consensual encounters, and secret payoffs. The indictment lists racketeering conspiracy, multiple counts of trafficking by force or fraud, and transporting people for unlawful purposes. Charges that could keep him behind bars for life. Combs maintains his innocence, but judges have rejected every bail request, labeling him a flight risk with vast resources. 8 months on, he remains in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, while jurors hear tales of alleged abductions and threats, and hush-hush after-hours parties. If even part of the government's case sticks, hip-hop's former king might swap designer suits for a permanent jumpsuit. So where exactly does a billionaire bed down these days? Diddy now wakes up in 4 North, a dorm-style tier crammed with roughly 20 men where the lights never quite switch off, and every cough echoes off bare concrete. Guards count heads at dawn, then funnel the unit down narrow stairs for lukewarm chow before locking them back behind a mesh gate that rattles all day. Inmates gripe about leaking ceilings, chronic staffing shortages, and a facility so notorious that civil rights suits call it inhumane, after outages once left prisoners shivering in darkness for a week. Yet high-profile newcomers like Combs get no VIP pass. The same Suicide Watch camera tracks his bunk, the same overworked Medline dispenses pills hours late, and the same scuffed shower stalls host long queues and louder arguments. Most afternoons he can claim a plastic chair for dominoes, or stare at a postage stamp recreation yard hemmed in by razor wire. But privacy is non-existent. Every phone call, every whispered worry about the trial is swallowed by a room full of eavesdroppers. And on Memorial Day, that cramped world swaps its usual gray fare for something bizarrely festive. Barbecue chicken and jailhouse pudding that drives home just how far the bad boy empire has fallen. The rooftop barbecues Diddy used to throw in the Hamptons have been replaced by a beige tray and a 10-minute chow line. Breakfast lands first. A bruised piece of fruit, a scoop of cereal that turns gray in skim milk, and a breakfast cake that tastes like damp cardboard. Lunch brings the holiday special. Cooks ladle out barbecue chicken so sweet it masks the freezer burn, slap kidney beans beside a gluey mound of mac and cheese, then slide on mixed veggies, whole wheat bread, and a pudding cup meant to feel festive. Dinner is pure rotation. Chicken or tofu, white rice, pinto beans, canned corn, another slice of bread, a lukewarm drink, served under humming fluorescence, while guards shout for inmates to clear the tables. For a man once known for crystal and caviar, the irony is thick as the sauce on that cafeteria chicken. Yet the bland food is nothing compared to the scorching allegations searing through the courtroom. Rumors of private after-hours parties, bomb threats, and hush money deals that could leave the music icon grilled for life. And the witnesses lining up to testify are about to crank the heat even higher. Former aides are filling in the darker corners. Ex-assistant Capricorn Clark swore Combs once pounded on her door at dawn, brandishing a firearm, threatening to take Cudi out. Meanwhile, longtime gopher George Kaplan and security man David James detailed hush payments, burner phones, and flight logs that show private jets shuttling guests to secret mansion parties. Rumors suggest those jets ferried influencers and aspiring singers who were then pressured into wild after-hour shows. Stories impossible to verify, yet impossible for the jury to ignore. Prosecutors lean on the pattern: intimidation, payoff, silence. The defense insists it's a smear campaign by disgruntled ex-employees. But as each witness layers new allegations atop the last, the case is morphing from star gossip into something that could lock Combs away for life. And his lawyers are scrambling to turn down the heat. Outside the courthouse, lead attorney Mark Agnafilo plants the same refrain before every camera: "This is a witch hunt, plain and simple. Mr. Combs is imperfect, but he is not a criminal." He argues the government stitched together old grudges and tabloid gossip, insisting every encounter was consensual and every payment a routine NDA, not hush money. Behind the scenes, a crisis PR squad floods timelines with glossy throwbacks of Diddy doting on his children, while family members file into the gallery each morning. His mother Janice clutching a rosary, sons Justin and Christian nodding stoically to remind jurors there's a human life beneath the headlines. Fan accounts echo the narrative, posting free M's memes and calling the charges an industry takedown. Critics fire back with number Diddy did. It threads that rack up millions of views overnight. The legal team's strategy is two-pronged: dismantle witness credibility and paint the case as selective prosecution. They highlight gaps in Cassie's timeline, point to Kid Cudi's missing fire report, and suggest disgruntled staffers are chasing payouts from a billionaire who finally said no. Rumors suggest they'll soon introduce emails showing Cassie negotiating a 7-figure book deal. Evidence, they claim, of a money grab. Whether that lands as reasonable doubt or desperate spin will hinge on the digital forensics rolling out next week.
Sean Diddy Combs is accused of lawsuit by R&B singer Cassie claims that she was in a years-long relationship with Combs that also involved beatings.
Yet every public relations volley clashes with the stark reality of a racketeering trial, and the penalties now looming could eclipse even Diddy's empire. If the jury buys even a slice of the indictment, Sean Diddy Combs could spend the rest of his natural life in federal lockup. Racketeering alone carries a maximum of life, and the counts involving coercion add a mandatory minimum 15 years on top. No early release loopholes, no state-level leniency. Judge Arun Subramanian has warned both sides the clock is ticking. He expects a verdict before the 4th of July, turning America's birthday into Diddy's personal judgment day. Even if Combs walks free, the empire he built is bleeding out. Diageo has dissolved its 15-year liquor partnership, shuttering multi-million-dollar lines of Ciroc and De Leon tequila. Medium industry whispers say the spirits giant is already shopping Ciroc to new buyers, proof that corporate America is sprinting away from the bad boy brand. Fortune streaming playlists that once funneled millions into Combs Global have been quietly demoted, and sponsorships from fashion houses are on indefinite pause. Then come the civil lawsuits, more than 24 and growing, each alleging variations of a and a terror. NPR litigation experts peg potential payouts in the 8-figure range, a drain that could dwarf even a billionaire's reserves. Combine that with mounting legal fees and frozen royalties, and the cash burn is staggering by the week. So the stakes rise on 3 fronts: freedom, fortune, and legacy. A single guilty verdict could lock Combs away for life. A single acquittal still leaves him fighting off a swarm of creditors and accusers. And with digital forensics queued up next, texts, flight logs, surveillance drives, the courtroom pressure is about to spike even higher. The holiday pause ends as court doors swing open today, May 27th, and prosecutors are wasting no time. First on the stand is former assistant Capricorn Clark, expected to describe a 2011 break-in at Kid Cudi's home that she says Diddy staged in a jealous rage. Her testimony will be followed by Los Angeles police and fire department officials who handled the car bomb incident Cudi linked to Combs. New York Post. Judge Aaron Subramanian has kept a tight clock since jury selection began May 5th.
They testified that he believes Combs actually broke into his house and testified that a few months later, a Molotov cocktail was placed on his Porsche, damaging his car.
He's warned both sides the case must wrap by July 4th, meaning the 4th of July prosecution has roughly 4 weeks left to unload its digital arsenal. Encrypted texts, flight logs, and hard drive footage agents cloned during last year's raids. NPR.New York Post. Analysts say the government will spend the next 10 days authenticating those files before resting its case. Then Diddy's team gets its turn, likely calling character witnesses, music executives, family, even former bad boy artists, to paint him as a demanding but benign mentor. Closing arguments could land just as New York's fireworks crack the sky, leaving jurors to decide whether the man who once ruled July 4th stages will watch them from a cell for decades to come. In other words, the countdown has started, and every new witness, every decrypted message could detonate the outcome. From penthouse parties to prison pudding, Sean Diddy Combs' Memorial Day backdrop is a glaring reminder of how fast an empire can collapse. The same hands that once clutched platinum plaques now grip a scratched plastic tray. The jet-set tycoon is counting days in a dorm crammed with 20 strangers while testimony piles up like bricks around him. If prosecutors connect the digital dots, flight logs, encrypted chats, hush money wires, Combs could trade red carpet flashes for razor wire and fluorescent hums for the rest of his life. Drop your verdict in the comments. Hit subscribe for every courtroom twist and keep your eyes on the calendar. The 4th of July fireworks might be nothing compared to the explosion that's coming next.